Periscopers. 12 o'clock, ready to Periscope. How's everyone doing? Hi, Donna. Good to see you on Facebook today. Hey, Debbie. Awesome. And Megan, Wendy. Gosh, I love my Periscope friends. Thanks for joining. Also, thanks for joining Felipe. I need some men, and I am on a dating series right now. And this dating series is relevant to anyone. A lot of you are single, a lot of you aren't. We're all in different stages of our life, or sometimes some people have teenagers that are single, or have other relatives that are single, or people that you interact with that are single. So share this Periscope with them, because I have been talking this week about dating and dating relationships and making wise choices while you're dating, while you're in this stage of your life. I'm Trina Titus Lozano, and I'm a counselor and an ordained Christian minister, and I love talking about relationships. So dating relationships has been my favorite topic for the last 20 years. Oh, hey, Trey, good to see you on Periscope today. Okay, so the question is, are you dateable? Are you dateable? And are they dateable? Because before you really choose somebody, first you got to make sure that you yourself are really a strong candidate to be a great marriage partner. You know, be sure that you are a strong candidate to be a great boyfriend or a great girlfriend, that you've got the maturity that it really takes. Oh, good. I'm so glad that you've been sharing with Kristen. I hope she's listening too, Tracy. Kristen, I need to call her soon. But this is so helpful for anyone that can just grasp these truths, because first of all, you've got to choose who you want to be. Then you choose who you want to be with. Now, catch the replay if you didn't watch last night. I think a lot of you did. I was talking specifically about choosing wisely and then treating kindly. So we treat others kindly, and they've got to treat you kindly. There's more than just that one quality that you're looking for when you're finding somebody that's going to be compatible with you, but that is huge. Somebody who's very kind. And even in conflict, they've got to have that kindness about them, so that we're sure that they are not, that there's not the bad behavior that's going to be that underlying destruction in the relationship. The reason why this is kind is because, oh, Krista, I'm glad that you joined, is because, y'all, we've got to notice and avoid, when you are making these choices of who to spend the rest of your life with, you've got to notice bad behavior and steer away from that. See, you're not a victim of your emotions. You could be really crushing on a girl or a guy, but once you get to know them better, they've got to have the qualities that you're looking for. And if they don't, it's got to be a deal breaker. So that's why I did the narcissism episode last night, because I want you guys and girls to really look at the red flags, because it is not good to be in a relationship with a very controlling person. It's not good to be in a relationship like that. It's not good to be in a relationship with an unkind person. It's funny, because as I ask teenagers to list qualities that they're looking for when they're choosing a life partner, you know, they always say someone who's honest and faithful and trustworthy, and someone, that is has stuff in common with me and has a good sense of humor. And they just go on and on and on with all these things. Sometimes they forget to mention love, and that's so true. And love is important. But then you'll have people like the couple that was in my office yesterday say, we got married, but I don't know if we were still in love, and I don't think we're in love now. Our family is part of Bachelor Nation, so we're always watching The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. And you hear as they're getting to know each other, saying things like, I'm falling in love with them, or I think I'm falling for them, or I think I'm falling, and this is the thing. There is that element, and that's a part of it, that chemistry. Yeah, I know, right, Wendy? Good luck with that. People say that joking around, but the fact of the matter is they're going to be dating before you know it. And as a parent, you know that is part of life, and it's a good thing. We shouldn't be afraid of our kids dating. And I was just actually talking to a client this morning right before I Periscoped about, finding out that their 16-year-old was having sex with her boyfriend, and they thought that he was a really good guy, and they didn't think that she was doing stuff like that. So it's like, Now what do we do? Like we thought he was a great guy. We thought she was a great girl, and they've been thinking around and lying to us, So, it gets there before you know it, and you have to really be really skillful with your parenting skills. And I can help walk you through every stage of parenting, including that. But it's best to start talking about now what kind of qualities they want to be, what kind of qualities they want to look for. That's right, as we are really unpacking what it means to be loved, to love and be loved is more important than just waiting to fall in love or waiting to recognize if you have fallen in love or fallen out of love. Because really, agape love is really more of a choice than a falling into. So I want you guys to use your emotional intelligence and really take a look at the important intellectual components of, this relationship, because you've got to have more than just the feelings. You've got to know that intellectually, when you think about it, yeah, we're a really good match. And yes, they have the qualities that I'm looking for. You like my mug today? Never give up. Never give up, ever, ever, ever give up, whatever it is. So whenever we want to understand love, we've got to go to the Bible. So I went to 1 Corinthians 13. Love is the greatest is the heading on this chapter. 1 Corinthians 13. Some of you know this as the love chapter in the Bible. Others of you are more unfamiliar with it. But I'm just going to read it. Love is patient and kind. Okay, there's two things. If you're in a relationship with someone who's impatient, who's unkind, that should be a deal breaker for you. If you're in a relationship and you say that you love someone, but you are impatient and you are unkind, then you've got to know you're not ready to be telling people, I love you. Do you remember, Wendy, when I read this to y'all? You're not ready to be saying, I love you, if you're allowing yourself to be impatient and unkind. Love doesn't act that way. Love isn't impatient and love isn't unkind. And if for some reason you become that way in a certain circumstance, what you're going to do is you're going to self-evaluate and you're going to apologize and you're going to own it and you're going to change your behavior, because you don't have to be a victim of your feelings and of your impatience, No, you get to determine what kind of a person you want to be. And you can say, I don't want to be an impatient person, so I'm not going to be. I'm going to make the adjustment and make the correction in my own character so that I'm not impatient. I don't want to be unkind because I want to love. I want to be in loving relationships. I want to love and be loved. So you can't allow yourself to be unkind. You also can't allow yourself to be in a relationship with unkind, impatient people. I mean, everyone's going to be that sometimes, but when they are chronically and constantly impatient and unkind, that's not love. And so that would not be somebody that you'd want to spend the rest of your life with. You've got to be with someone that is able to give and receive love correctly. And if you're that way, then you'll be a match with someone else that's that way. So let's continue. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous. So what happens is when people that's also a trait of narcissism, if people begin to be very jealous and controlling, if they're jealous, there's that fear-based mentality of, they want what they can't have, really. And then there's a suspicion, there's this mistrust, it's so unhealthy for a person to be jealous, okay? There's a lack of confidence in their own life. So they're lacking. And if you're the one that's jealous, then you're really an insecure person that's lacking the confidence to really trust. Because we have to know going into a loving relationship that is marriage potential that I'm not jealous. I'm not jealous. I'm at my core more trusting. I'm more full of faith than I am full of fear, because that's what love is. Love has an element of I'm willing to trust. I'm willing to put it out there. And so that's not jealous. Okay. So there's that. Love is not boastful or proud. What does that mean? In real terms, you'll find in a relationship, if someone is boastful or proud, you'll find them constantly putting other people down, okay? You'll find them, or if you find yourself putting other people down, then you're boastful and proud. If you find yourself really putting other people down so that you build yourself up, or always wanting to be right, or always saying that you're right, then you'll know there's some boasting, there's some pride. If you find someone who's bragging all the time, they're name dropping, or they're telling you how great they are, that's also another sign of narcissism. So if they're not that like really truly clinically a narcissistic person, at the very least, if they're a person that really has a lot of pride and they're constantly boasting, that's not a quality that you're going to want to spend the rest of your life with. So you might consider the fact that that's not marriage, they're not marriage material. Now, if it's you that has this quality that you yourself hear yourself bragging, or you hear yourself putting other people down, or you hear yourself always want to be right, then you've got some insecurities of your own that you need to deal with first before you get into a loving, committed, romantic relationship. Because those insecurities are not going to allow you to love and to give and receive love correctly. So because there's pride and this element of pride and insecurity are two sides of the same coin. So what happens is if you hear yourself talking that way, or if you hear somebody else talking that way, you'll know that's not love, and they won't be capable of giving and receiving love the way you want it, and it'll be difficult, okay? And it will be problematic. You are dealing with this? Exactly. But you've come so far, Wendy. You are really getting it now in your relationship with John. I mean, you guys are really getting it. Your marriage is so solid because there's not that underlying insecurity, that underlying fear. It just it really makes a big difference. Okay, so to continue, 1 Corinthians 13, which is where I am right now, it does not demand its own way. So if a person is very demanding and they want to demand their own way, you have to make a mental note of that. That's not love. Love doesn't do that. Love isn't demanding. Okay, if you yourself, again, we're evaluating ourselves. Am I dateable? And are they dateable? So we've got to choose, choose the identity that you yourself want to have, and you want to really develop your own character. And then you want to choose someone who is going to be a match with that. Are y'all getting the hang of this? Okay. If you're not single, then pass this on to people that you know that are. Okay. So it does not demand its own way, meaning it's not selfish and it's not demanding. Okay. That's not love. Love doesn't behave that way. Love is not selfish. Love is not demanding. So keep that in mind. Love is not proud. Love is not rude. Okay, y'all? Love is not rude. So if people are simply rude and unkind, make a note of it and don't stay with them. And they will blame that they're rude and unkind because of the way everybody else behaved or because of the circumstances. So they won't take personal responsibility for their rudeness or their unkindness or a combination of both. What they'll do is they'll blame someone else. That's right, Krista? They'll blame someone else. Well, I'm rude because they did this, because they messed up, because they weren't perfect, because they had issues, or because if they would have done this, then I wouldn't do this. And if they were, they don't take personal responsibility. So y'all, if that's you, again, then you need to make an adjustment in your own life that you do take personal responsibility to not be rude and to not be demanding. Yes, unrealistic expectations is a huge problem in a loving relationship because it's not love. Because love doesn't have unrealistic expectations. Love has that grace. Love has that understanding. Love has that kindness to it, that element. So it doesn't. So in fact, you don't only not have unrealistic expectations, you don't have any expectations of them. You just expect yourself to behave correctly. Now you have, I like to say, expectancies. Meaning I'm hoping and I'm looking forward, to my husband taking me to Italy next year. So that's an expectancy, but not an expectation. I have an expectancy that my husband will pick me up from the airport on time and maybe even bring me flowers, carry my luggage to the car. I have an expectancy that might happen, kiss me when he sees me. I have an expectancy, but not an expectation, because the expectation is that it's my right and that I'm entitled to have a husband treat me in this certain way. So if I feel like I have a right to that and I'm entitled to it, that's where the expectation becomes demanding and rude rude and unloving. But when they're in a loving relationship, you have an expectancy and excitement, but not an expectation. I always like to say hope stands for have only positive expectancies. Different than expectations, because we just don't have the power over anyone else. We don't have the power over the way we behave, but we do take the personal responsibility for my own responses, to the way other people behave. So if other people are behaving incorrectly and really have these qualities that are not love, then you don't have to be a victim of that. You actually get to choose to draw the boundary and say, you know what? We're not going to be in a romantic relationship because you're rude, you're unkind, and I know you don't think you are, but you're rude, you're unkind, you're demanding, you're selfish. And so, I don't know if James actually logged on yet, but I didn't see him. But he'll for sure watch the replay, right? I'm giving him some great clues. He's on a road trip right now, headed to Lubbock. So hi, honey, if you're watching or if you're going to watch the replay. He had a big job to do today. So he's actually out of town. So let me continue here. It is not irritable. This is something that we talked about in my office yesterday with a couple. This lady, bless her heart, the most beautiful young couple you've ever seen. This sweet lady, bless her heart, she was describing her day. She said, I'm just irritated. She goes, I don't know what it is. I think I might have the whiniest kids in the world. She goes, and I don't know what it is, but I'm irritated. And when my husband comes home, I'm irritated. I'm stressed out. I'm irritated. When he wants to have sex, I don't want to have sex. I'm irritated. And she just said, when he comes home, I'm irritated. When the kids need things, I'm irritated. And she just kept using that word. Well, you know what? And then in the other sentence, I love my kids, I love my husband. Well, if you love your kids, you love your husband, then stop giving yourself permission to be irritated and to be irritable and to be annoyed. So the first step is to remind yourself that's not love. Love isn't irritated. Love isn't irritable. Love does not, if I love myself, then I won't allow myself to be an irritated, annoyed person, and I will be annoying. Oh, wow. You know what? I'm sorry if she cries. I'm sorry if she's heartbroken. Do yourself a favor and say goodbye, because she's not going to be capable of giving you the life you want. There are other people out there that are incredibly wonderful, that don't have the emotional problems that the person that you're with. So set your standards a little bit higher. If you feel like you need to break up either with a controlling woman or a controlling man or an unloving, unkind, irritable woman or an unloving, unkind, irritable, selfish man, y'all, break up with them. Break up. That's the point during this time of dating, of breaking up. Even if you're engaged, if you have that sense in the back of your mind, I see red flags all over the place. Listen, don't marry them. For sure, don't have children with them, okay? And for sure, remember, you have the choice. You should not feel guilty, okay? That's false guilt. That's false guilt, because you shouldn't feel guilty about that. In fact, you should take the personal responsibility for your own joy. I always say happiness depends on happenings, right? But joy comes from the Lord, and marriage will not change the person for sure. In fact, it'll make things more stressful, and it'll make you more stressful too. So that's not going to be a good choice. And if you feel like this is the person for you, or they say that they'll change, oftentimes they don't have the character, or they don't have the actual ability to change like they want to. They don't like the way that they are. But that would mean that you would need to pull away, and then they would need to prove their change for a long period of time, until you get back together and reconnect. And if their change is truly proven, here's what repentance is. Repentance is that someone will take full responsibility. So here's the R's. Full responsibility. They will show remorse and regret. They will repair how they have hurt you, and they will repeat it never. So you've got those 5 R's. If you see those 5 R's happening, they take full responsibility. They don't blame anyone else for their own unhappiness. They don't blame anyone else for their own, for all that. So they won't blame, and they don't hold you responsible for their happiness. See, none of us can be responsible for somebody else's emotions. We each have to take personal responsibility for our own emotions. And we can't all even blame someone else. You know, if you are in a relationship with someone who's abusive, listen, get out. You know, you've got to take the personal responsibility to say, I need to take the responsibility to get out of this relationship. I need to take the personal responsibility to protect my heart. That we each have that personal responsibility. So separate your goals and desires. It's my goal to protect myself and to change my attitude and to do what I need to do to be healthy emotionally and in a safe place. But I will also take the personal responsibility to draw the boundary and break up when I need to, okay? That is massively important. Listen, don't blame anyone else if you're in an unhappy relationship, okay? That's on you because you've decided to stay. And I always tell people who are my clients, look, you could stay or you can leave, but don't stay and complain. Now, the dynamics are different if you have children with the person that you're married to. But I'm specifically talking about choosing in dating relationships. Now, if you're if you are periscoping with me and you're in dating relationships or you're single and you've been married and divorced before, or you've been unmarried but with children, you know, if you have children and you are dating, you are seriously risking the future of your kids. So that is not where I want you to be putting your focus. I'd rather you be really putting your focus on loving and parenting your children and growing yourself so that by the time your children are up and out or gone, then they can, then you'll be ready for a solid relationship. But yeah, drop mic, exactly. You could stay or you can leave, but don't stay and complain. In fact, biblically, oh, hi, Melody. Good to see you joining again. Biblically, we're not supposed to complain about anything ever. Biblically, we're supposed to do all things without grumbling and complaining because we're supposed to take personal responsibility for whatever we're complaining about. How long is too long if we're still trying to choose if they may be right? You know, I think it's probably too long. Once you have that sense and you see a lot of red flags, it is time. And if you're not breaking up because you feel the sense of false guilt, it's time. It's time to have that conversation, and it's time to realize that it's not a loving relationship. So it's a relationship that's got some unhealthy things about it. So I would go ahead and have a conversation, and you simply have a conversation and you make an announcement that you have made a decision to not remain together any longer. And I know that people have such a hard time breaking up because really narcissists will typically be with an empath or with somebody who's a very empathetic person. And so you'll be so empathetic. Yeah, and they're so manipulative and you're so empathetic that you don't want to break up. Ultimatums, they don't really encourage people to change. So I always just say, instead of giving an ultimatum, like literally just make an announcement. Face the fact they're not who you thought they were. Realize that it's okay to be single. There's going to be someone that will be a better match with you. And I would simply just draw the boundary, break up. Now, I was telling somebody last year who was really struggling with breaking up. I just said, set yourself a deadline. Set yourself a deadline and say, if they haven't changed by this time, I will make the announcement. That's right, Krista. I've had this conversation with you before. I will make the announcement of what my plans are. When I'm moving out, when I'm whatever, when we're breaking up. And then they have to understand it is illegal for them to not take your word for it. It is illegal if they continue to stalk you, to harass you, to force you, to manipulate you into getting back together with them. That's actually illegal. It's stalking and it's harassment. They should not be doing that. So don't allow them to do that. Get a new phone, change your number, move, don't answer their calls, don't respond to their texts, block them off of everything, delete them off of everything. Like literally, if it's a breakup, don't do the whole thing of, I need to break up but still be nice. it won't work because they'll be confused and it's just sending mixed messages. It'll confuse you too. They need it clear. So just do the clear cut, rip the Band-Aid off, and it'll be hurtful a little bit, but they will heal, and they'll heal better when you guys are not stuck in an unhealthy relationship. If you're in a relationship where there's been getting together and breaking up and getting together and breaking up and getting together and breaking up, it's not a good relationship. I'm telling you right now, it's not. So that's an unhealthy thing. It's an unhealthy pattern. So don't marry that person, okay? It's a very unhealthy pattern. Now I'm going to continue, and I hope that this is helpful for all of you. I'm just going to continue reading here in 1 Corinthians 13. It is not irritable. It keeps no records of being wrong, especially narcissistic people. Exactly. They'll just go to the next because you know what? They always have a plan because they're awesome and they're incredible and they're the most wonderful, powerful, fabulous people ever, right? They always have these grandiose, descriptions of themselves. So they'll just go from one person to the next, and it's really this crazy fantasy world that they live in of, their sort of God mentality of how, what a god or goddess that they are. It might be the men or the women. They're this, but here it comes back to love is, love, it keeps no records of being wronged. Well, listen, keeping records of being wrong is whenever you get to the place where, let me tell you what resentment is when something happens and you resend it, and it's like a little record player. It plays in your mind. It goes from your head to your heart, to your head to your heart, to your head to your heart. And you resend this like a record player. Resent. That's resentment that's going to happen. So love keeps no record of being wrong means that I'm not going to be resentful and bitter about our relationship or about our breakup or about what happened. I'm not going to be resentful and bitter, but I am going to make a note of it. I have to make a note of it so that I can, with wisdom and understanding, choose to really look at the fruit of your life and decide if we're going to be a good match, if we need to stay together, and if you've got the character qualities that I'm looking for and the character qualities that I admire. So it's not like you keep record of being wrong in the sense that I'm going to hold it and I'm going to be bitter. No, that's just going to wound you. But you do have to respond to their behaviors with an understanding and with an intellectual understanding. I didn't want this person to be an addict. I didn't think this person was an addict, but now we've dated long enough. I know that they're an addict. They just are. So I need to accept the things I can't change and just go ahead and move on and draw the boundary, or whatever it is. Or I didn't think that this person was going to be chronically rude or chronically cheat on me or chronically irritable or chronically, selfish and abandoning me or, all of these things, abusive, emotionally abusive, manipulative. I didn't know this person would be that. Okay, but once you know, you have the information to make a wise choice. That's right. It is huge personal growth when you can handle it well and wisely. Thanks, Kathy. So there's the personal growth in you because what? You've got to be a wise person. You want to make wise choices in your dating relationships because this is your life that we're talking about, and it's in your own best interest to use wisdom. But you don't ever get resentful or bitter. What if they come to the table of money, car, home issues, but is a good person? Regardless, it doesn't matter, what they bring to the table. It just, the thing that matters is character, the character qualities that you're looking for. Because money comes and goes. Looks even come and go, You can be very attracted to a person now. Well, you know what? Looks are going to change. And 50 years from now, they're going to be wrinkled and bald and they're going to look different. Okay. Age takes over. They're probably going to weigh more or maybe they'll weigh less. They might gain 50 pounds. They might lose 100 pounds. They might lose, who knows? But looks change. Accidents happen. So you've got to be more than just looking at the surface. So you're really using wisdom in looking at their character qualities. And that's why I wanted to come to this topic of love, because it's not just that we're just in love or I'm in love or I'm falling in love, They say they love me. Well, if they say they love you, and if you say you love them, it's got to measure up to this biblical standard of agape love, or it's not love, okay? It's probably lust, or it's another definition of love, like eros in the Greek is that erotic sort of love. Okay, that's more like lust, or it could be phileo, really, where you should just be friends, and you should have never gone into a romantic relationship. We should have just kept it friends. Or we should have just kept it neighbors, or we should have just kept it co-workers, or I should have just respected them, that woman or that man, as my boss, and never gone into a romantic relationship. So whatever it is, consider it. I'm falling for them. No, you don't just fall in love like you fall into the ditch, okay? You've got to engage your brain intellectually if they are a good match for you. Yes, all of those other components, phileo and storge and eros, are all part of love. They're all part of agape love. But agape love ultimately is the kind of love that's going to use wisdom when making these choices, because agape love is a love that believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things, it never, ever, ever fails. That's the kind of love that's till death do you part kind of love. So, falling in the ditch, right? Yeah, but that's not the way that love works. I mean, at some point, you've got to think clearly. Yeah, you can be interested in someone and you can be attracted by someone initially, but you've got to engage yourself intellectually whenever you're making when you're making wise choices in any area of life, especially in dating and choosing a life partner. So, the rest of this verse here, 1 Corinthians 13, verse 6, love does not rejoice about injustice, but it rejoices when the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, it endures everything in all circumstances. So this is the kind of person that you want to be, and this is the kind of person that you want to choose. Now, I always say 1 Corinthians 13, that's, I always say what, in my opinion, right after this, you got to turn the page in my Bible. Okay, so it's right here. I had this all highlighted. And then we go like this. Yeah, that's a good idea, Wendy. Right at the end of this chapter, in my opinion, is the key to agape love. Okay, y'all? This is the key. You've got to know that if you're ready to get married, if you are ready to really take that extra step to actually propose or to say yes to a proposal or to talk about marriage, here's the key. The end of 1 Corinthians 13. When I was a child, I spoke and thought and reasoned as a child, but when I grew up, I put away childish things. I always tell my couples, to really be in love, you've got to grow up. You have got to grow up. You know, I watch The Bachelor and I'm thinking, these people are not even acting like adults. Like, they're not even grown up enough to get married. And that's why they never last. You know, they'll propose at the end of the TV show, and then is the test. Are they a grown up? Are they a real grown up? Do they have really character to be able to sustain the relationship of them falling in love on The Bachelor? And so, and most of the time they don't, you know. So I think there's been like 2 couples out of the last, 30 couples, that have, hooked up on the show. So, but this is the thing, you've got to grow up. So if there's childish behavior in your own life, okay, if there's childish behavior in the life of the person that you are with, that childish behavior has got to go for you guys to really experience the kind of love that's going to be really solid and very adult and very mature. So if you have childish behavior like getting intoxicated, like drinking too much, like partying, like smoking weed, like playing video games, like throwing tantrums when you get mad. This is all childish behavior, being selfish, being self-centered, throwing your clothes on the floor, not doing the dishes, not doing the laundry, not cooking for yourself, not caring for yourself. All of these things are childish behavior. So, not taking care of your responsibilities, not cleaning out your car, just making a mess, throwing trash all over your apartment or trash all over your car. These are all childish behaviors that y'all have got to go before you decide to settle down into a marriage relationship. For sure, if you're throwing tantrums, or if other people are throwing tantrums when something doesn't go their way, and y'all, every day there's going to be something that's not just going to go your way. Oh, well, that is life. But when you're a mature adult and you're a loving person, then you don't throw a tantrum, okay? Leave that to your 2 and 3 and 4-year-olds, okay? But you don't throw a tantrum. 1-year-olds too, for sure. It starts then. But you guys, it's been fun periscoping with you today. And I'm on a roll, so I'm going to keep talking about this at 9 o'clock tonight. So you guys, thanks for joining. Thanks for sharing. And I will get all these periscopes on my website tomorrow. But if you'd like to watch older periscopes that you roll on the floor in your head. That's hilarious. Yeah. Whenever you roll your eyes back like, oh, it's actually you rolling on the floor throwing a tantrum, right? That's the adult version of, oh. Thanks for sharing the website, Wendy. And thanks for periscoping with me. And I just love having you and your mother-in-law and everybody else online with me today. So God bless you guys. Have a great rest of the day. And I'll be back tonight. Bye-bye.